For the ones who are not familiar with me, my name is Eran Danino. I'm the regional sales manager for Radware quite a long time. I was a technical person, so I know all the details as well. And I want to start with a small joke that I read about the internet, about cybersecurity. If you know, tell me if you know this guy, if it works. Anyone recognize this guy? You know his name? Well, I read about it and I found a nice quote that he said, just to start, the presentation. It's about cybersecurity, so, and I found this quote that he says. It's not working, so I use this one. So don't believe anything you read on the internet. That's a quote I found for this guy. But it's true. The message is true, right? And it's nice, right? Because what is cybersecurity in general, right? We tend to believe what we read on the internet, tend to believe what we see on the media, tend to believe that the user that is trying to access to our network is validated, is authenticated, right? But what does it mean when it comes to public-facing internet, right? There is no user to authenticate. They are all anonymous users. So how do you validate? Especially when we are talking about a data center, right? Data center is in the center of the organization. There is the web application, the database. All these are public-facing internet applications. And all these are anonymous users. So how do you know which user is valid and which user is not valid, or let's say, a bad actor? We want to protect the data center, right? And we know that the anonymous users are there all over the internet. So how do we validate whether it's a good or bad? So from a threat landscape, or from, let's say, the attacker's point of view, what we see in Radware in the last 2 years, we see a shift to the cloud. They are using cloud resources because there is more power, there is more, let's say, anonymity. They can hide themselves behind the CDN, they can hide themselves behind, IP addresses, etc. We see also move to the application. They move to the network to the application because it's more sophisticated attacks, and it's easy to target a specific resource on the application. We see that they hit you where it most hurts, meaning it's no longer that they start the attack, one day. They learn the application, they learn your network, they see where you have the weakest point, and then they hit you. And we see that. We will see in a graph how we recognize that it's there. And we see that in couple of attacks, especially when it comes to, let's say, bad actor groups, and we will see it in a second. So they hit you where it hurts, basically. And they use, one more time, and they use AI technology. They use behavioral or automatic tools to generate attacks. They don't need to, they understand that they have, you have defense system, you have web application firewall, you have DDoS system, you have detection, you have data link prevention system. So they learn the application and they use automatic tools to evade your defense system, let's say. So where did we start? We started with, this is the evolution. And if you see, it makes sense. It started in 2021, where COVID started. So it did accelerate, the company's digital process. Most of the organization moved to move their application to be online because of COVID. Everybody is working from home. You remember those challenging times? So everybody was working from home. They need to do the application online. They need to do the digital process from the organization point of view. And then we had the invasions from Russia to Ukraine. The Ukraine war started, to, let's say, bring the attackers in front. It's not only the physical war, but also the virtual war. And it comes, last year with what's happening, in Middle East. And we see also, the shift again. It brings a lot of challenges into, let's say, the COVID area, where you started, the digital transformation, and then the attackers started to be more and more sophisticated using the AI tools. So how do we see those attacker groups, let's say? We see that, roughly, we can categorize them into two groups. One group is the pro-Russian, okay, like Killnet, and Anonymous Russia, and Anonymous Sudan is over there. Sorry, Anonymous Sudan is on the religious group. So we categorize into two groups, pro-Russian and religious groups. Then these are really real groups. They are not children, they are not kids. We will see, for example, Killnet. Okay, so we see Killnet as the, Killmik is no longer there, he retired. But we see that there is a whole organization behind it. Sometimes they collaborate, obviously, and they monetize their services. There is a real process and sensors of the attack tools where they generate statistics. And they monetize it. How they monetize, not monetize it, but they contribute money to the attackers. Just for the example, Anonymous Sudan just published that they will give bitcoins, cryptocurrency, to the most 10 attackers that they are generating attacks where the target they define it. So they really give motivation to the attackers to generate attacks. Okay? On the other hand, you see IT Army of Ukraine, where they generate really a platform where you can download their tools and join their, challenges against Russia. And it's easy. You can go there, see what the tools they are using. Really, they provided a platform where you can download the user manual, how to install, how to deploy, give them, recommendation. And easy. You don't need to be on the darknet. You don't need to be anywhere. You just search, Google, IT Army of Ukraine, and you will find the website. You go there, you will find all the instructions you need if you want to join forces against Russia. And nobody will know that you are doing it. One of the tools that we found very attractive from the attacker's point of view, it's called, and you can find it on GitHub, you can find it anywhere. Again, you don't need to be on the darknet, because you think, I want to be hacker, I need to be on the darknet, I need to be well educated, I need to know code. Not anymore. Search MH tools, MH tool, very sophisticated attack tool. You can see how many attack factors you can generate, what type of the attack, fully automatic, and the ability, this is what's written here, ability to bypass even vendors that provide protection. I don't know if you can see here, but it says Google Project Shield Bypass, Cloudflare Bypass. Okay, so if you click on that, you are able to bypass Cloudflare protection. So there are really, they implemented specific mechanisms how to bypass protections of vendors. Okay, so, and many attack techniques over there. 56 methods. From the network to the application in one tool. You don't need to download a lot of tools. One tool that can generate a lot of attacks. Another thing is what we see back to the, the attacker view, is that this is from last year. The most attacker group that we see is active is no name, if you are familiar with that one. And now we see the differentiation between, you see anonymous name and anonymous sedan. Anonymous sedan usually, not 100%, but usually we see them as more volumetric attacks, more, I don't want to say basic, but more volumetric network-based, okay? And no name is more application-based and sophisticated attacks, because they need really to find, and pinpoint resource on the application and target that. That's why they are, more active than others. And they really built their botnet with statistics how many attacks generated by bot. Okay, so they really have the information. Another thing is how we see how they are familiar or how popular they are. You see, for example, Anonymous Sudan in 6 months, how they grow, their popularity in the social network, okay? This is based on this is where they started, the financial motivation. So you see that they have followers on the Telegram, over 100, where they started, around May with 40K. Okay, they are now around 100. Same thing with no name, a lot of followers. So you see it increased the popularity, and it means they are increasing, their motivation and their, let's say, botnets, right? Because there are a lot, statistically, if you have a lot of followers, it means that you have a lot of participants or volunteers contributing to the attacks. What are the most attackers that we see, or more attacked, industries? So this is according to last year. So what we see here, technology, finance, and government are the leaders in general. These are the industries that are, let's say, leading the attacks surface. Healthcare, and we see more and more healthcare. Government is starting to change because we see less, let's say, institutions related to government, but we see more energy and utilities, for example. This is what you see here in that graph, that we see transformation, logistics, utilities, energy are growing. Okay, this is the growth versus last year, versus, 2002. So we see the 36% growing in transformation and utilities. And then it comes with energy, gaming, government, and manufacturing. Okay, service providers are always there. They are, usually the huge attackers, under attack, but they are not targeting the service provider. They are attacking, the end user. The service provider is just the transit, right? What is really interesting about that one is that we see, if we look 2-3 years ago, we see a lot of attacks, relatively simple, okay? But now we see pretty much the same amount of attacks, but more sophisticated attacks, okay? So as you see here, more sophisticated attacks, but no increase in the sophistication of the attacks. Okay, it sounds like a tricky one, but this is, we see more sophisticated attacks. Okay, so maybe the volume will be less, but in terms of the sophistications of the attacks relative to the application, relative to the resource on the application, we will talk about it in a second, we see more and more of that. For example, encrypted-based attacks. Okay, you need to have some kind of a tool because all of the internet is basically encrypted. So you need to have a tool how to see, how to have visibility over the encryption. What do we see more? So we see basically growth, 48% of the global attacks overall worldwide This is the scrubbing centers that we have around the world, not only scrubbing centers related to DDoS, but also web application and deception network. Okay, so we created a deception network around the world to collect intelligence on the attackers. So we understand what they are looking for, we understand what they are doing, and we are able to generate footprint for those attackers. Okay, so this is what we see. So you see overall around close to 50% of the attackers are handling in, let's say, Europe and US, but mostly in Europe. You see the statistics over there. This is an interesting input. On the web application and API, what we see is, you see these are the light blue are signature-based attacks, meaning that our web application protection, okay, is able to detect and block the attacks based on signature. But it means that the dark blue is based on behavioral technology, meaning that we learn the pattern of the attack and block it automatically in real time, not based on signature. Okay? This is a huge message. Okay? It means that if you have a solution, a web application solution that is based on signature-based only, or 90% of signatures, it means that you will miss all the dark blue attacks. Okay, so you need to have a real protection that is based on behavioral technology, meaning learn the attack patterns in real time and block it. What else we see? So part of the deception network, so we see growth, again, 65% year over year. We see the most attacked country is always, you know, US, but we see a lot more attacks happening in Europe. And we see the growth in the events per year, okay, compared to 21 and 22. Guys, if you have any questions, feel free. Okay, so this is the attacker's point of view, what we see they are doing on their side, and it's really complete, let's say a complete attackers group, meaning that they are having more and more botnets around the world, and that they are using really human being. What does it mean? It means that if we take 3-4 years ago, if you remember Mirai, it was based on IoT, mostly, right? They attacked, you know, the IoT devices, and they used the IoT devices to generate attacks. Botnet. Today, they rely on humans. I don't need to attack. I don't need to go to the IoT, search for IoT, and then generate attacks. You are there, you see. You are there, you can download the tool, you contribute your computer, you download with, you know, self-awareness that you download an attack tool, and you use the computer, your personal computer, to generate attacks. So they rely on us, basically. And they give us motivation, money, right? If you are on the top attackers, they give you crypto currency. So I'm not saying that IoT is no longer relevant, but they rely also on human beings. They rely on us to, let's say, to have us, whether we are pro-Russian or pro-Ukraine, they rely on us to contribute to their war, to our war. Okay, so what we see with having understand that you need a tool to understand the network, to understand the application, to understand that you need a behavioral technology, because signature is okay, is valid, and you block attacks also on signature, but it's not enough. So with Radware, we created an ecosystem, a full stack solution with a lot of components, right? Whether it's DDoS, whether it's web application firewall and API protection, whether it's TLS protection, that you, again, most of the attacks today are encrypted-based attacks, whether there is a bot, right? Bot can be a good bot, can be a bad bot. Bot is a business enabler, but you need to understand if it's a good one or a bad one. And we have the threat intelligence really to feed, the solution with a global view. Okay, so we created basically a full stack solution where there is integration between all the components. Because end of the day, you want to understand if you're under attack campaign from the network to the application. Okay, and this is important, doing it again with behavioral technology. We are able to distinguish between real users, real legitimate users, and bad actors, attackers. Again, using behavioral technologies. I don't want to say artificial intelligence because everybody is doing it, but it's real AI technology. Okay, from the network to the application. So we created a defense messaging system to integrate with all components. So you are able to see in a single dashboard, and you will see it in a second. In a single dashboard, you see if there is a really attack campaign, network to the application, and even to the user level. Because anti-bot solution is not on the network, is not on the application, is really on a user level. You are able to see that this is a real user, not on the protocol level. Now, I want to share some, real attacks view, what we see from our customers. Obviously, I will not expose, customer's name, but you are able to see what we see and what customers are experiencing. So this is an example of a EMEA-based large national bank. In Germany, okay? I didn't say anything, but it's still EMEA. And you see that this is 4 million RPS. You see RPS, requests per second. It's not volumetric, okay? There is no traffic here, traffic bandwidth. It's no 100 gig, or we don't care about traffic, because traffic is relatively low from a bandwidth point of view, but it's around 3 million requests per second, or HTTP transactions per second to the application. I don't know any server that can handle this kind of amount, maybe AWS, I'm not sure even. Okay, around nearly 3 million requests per second to the application. The server will be overwhelmed in few seconds. Okay? And you see the burst. You see a relatively short period of time. The next slide I will talk about. We will see why they are doing it in a short time. There is a motivation behind it. It's not that all attacks are short time, but there is it's meaningful for them. And you see that 20 minutes before that, there was a relatively low attack. If you remember when I said they are learning your network, so and they are doing it fully automatic. So the tool, they generated the tool, they generated the attack using an automated tool. They learn how you react. In 20 minutes, they learn how you react. What do you do if you have a service provider protection? What kind of defense system you have? The tool adjusts itself according to your feedback, and then generate full volume of attack traffic. So this is the preparation of the attack. Sometimes it's few minutes before, sometimes it's few days before, or few weeks before. It depends on your reaction, the organization, what kind of defense tools you have, if you have it on-prem, if you have it on the cloud, and based on that, they are able to generate this volumetric attack. Another example, major insurance company, also in Europe. Now, if you can see here, it's both mix of volumetric and application-based, meaning around 2.5 million requests per second, but at the same time, over 100 gig of attack traffic, DDoS attack. So both network-based and application-based. Okay? Now you see where it's like, it looks like bursty, right? It's like it's not a steady attack that you see one steady line with 2 million or 3 million requests per second. You see it's like start and go, on and off. Any idea why it's like that? Why they start and stop? Anyone? Why they are doing it bursty or peaky, let's say?
The protection has also timing, how long time it recognizes that this. If you are shorter, then you are more dangerous. Avoid scaling.
Avoid scaling? The attackers wants to avoid scaling?
The environment scaling up.
Related to cloud. I agree. Another motivation?
They want to learn if the defense system needs sometimes, anytime, or learn the attack.
Also? Yep.
Switch sources.
Switch sources. Source IPs?
Yeah.
Don't have to go down to switch sources. You can switch sources automatically without, the traffic change. But good point. Anyone else? Why it's bursty? So what we see is that they are basically want to avoid service provider protection. Service provider usually uses sampled technology, NetFlow, if you are familiar with. NetFlow use statistics. So if you use short period of time, the statistics mechanism doesn't have enough time to see or to detect that there is an attack. Okay? And it means that the service provider will not activate their protection, because by the time they see the attack is already over. So that's how they really attack the directly to the organization. Because they start, and then after a couple of minutes they stop. The service provider, from his point of view, there is no attack, because there is no trigger, there is no alarm, and then they launch another attack. Different destination IP, different application, different resource on the application, so the service provider is not able to activate the protection. Okay, that's how they target directly the organization. Now again, this is just one example if there is a service provider protection. Okay, like I said in the beginning, they are learning your defense system. Some organizations don't have service provider, they have only on-prem. So they have different kind of tools how to evade the on-prem. Okay, and then if you activate the on-prem, then you need the cloud. Okay, so they use, if you have only on-prem, the on-prem solution, for example, is limited to the performance, to the capacity. So they use huge attack traffic. And if you don't have the cloud, the service provider, you need to move them. Okay, a lot of organizations rely only on on-prem solution, and then they launch 100 gig of attack traffic. I don't know any enterprise that have 100 gig of lines. So they force you to move to the cloud. Okay, service provider not necessarily will help you here, because 100 gig, they just cut you off. They want to protect their network, the service provider. Okay, next one. Another European communication company, one of the largest service provider in Europe. I can say Deutsche Telekom, okay? I can say that. The color matches. True. So you see, 1,000,006, again, mix, 1 million requests per second. Again, the service provider, although there is a steady line here, you see here, this is where they learn the protection, and this is the actual attack. And its application, it's web DDoS, okay? Around 1 million of requests per second, directly to the application. Again, statistical based on bandwidth will not help you, because volumetric-wise, bandwidth, gig per second is not here. It's only the requests. The requests are relatively low, but from transactions point of view, targeting your application, you are completely down. Okay, and you see this is a relatively long period of time. Questions? Anyone? Clear. Here is more 7 days of attack on financial, one of the largest banks in Europe. And here you see really, this is from our dashboard on the on-prem solution. So you see 7 days of attacks combining, volumetric and non-volumetric, meaning application and network. Okay? And we are using here a hybrid solution, meaning on-premise solution with cloud. So all the volumetric attacks will be mitigated, will be blocked in the cloud, while application, low and slow, TLS, encrypted-based attacks, will be blocked by the on-premise solution. Remember that financial, mostly banks, are not happy to share the TLS or the SSL certificate. So they are not happy to move to the cloud in terms of encrypted-based attacks. So the TLS, the certificate of the encryption, will be managed by the on-premise solution. All the junk traffic, the volumetric attacks, will be mitigated by the cloud, where you don't need the certificate, or you are not, or the bank is not happy to share with you the certificate. Okay, so we are combining here the two benefits from the on-prem and the cloud. And now this is really from 3 weeks ago. Okay, a real use case from 2024. Government, you see here, it's also bursty, but you see the volume. 200 gig of attack traffic on government. Here I cannot expose the name. Okay, but government, really, this is really from 3 weeks, a month ago. Really around 200, yeah, even more sometimes. I don't know if you are able to see, but more than 200 gig of attack traffic, okay? Network-based. When you see 200 gig, 100 gig, it's not application-based. Application-based is usually request per seconds and relatively low volume, okay? Couple of hundreds, relatively. Okay, here is an example from from the automatic learning tool on the application, because here on the web DDoS, this is an example of application-based attacks, what we call web DDoS. In real time, we are able, again, there is no signature, zero-day attack. I don't need to say all those, buzzwords, but relatively, the original attack was HTTP flood, meaning web DDoS, but also network. But on the graph, you see only the web application. So you are able to see that in real time, we generate a real-time signature, a real-time footprint, that really we use as a blocking criteria rule to block the attack. And you see that the footprint or the real-time signature contains headers from the web application, meaning cookies, ciphers that are being used on the TLS header, user agent, for example. So we create all these rules, values, to block only the attack traffic. Okay, while legitimate users are still flowing through the box or through the DDoS as a service. Okay, so these are the mitigation engines. You see web DDoS plus layer 3 mitigation because it's also volumetric based attacks. Okay. So you see more than 700 requests per second, 700,000, obviously. Okay, real-time signature creation, question? Okay, for unknown attacks. Remember, when there is a signature, we don't need to go into the behavioral technology and look for the web application Prisma. No need to do that. There is a signature, so it's easy. You just block it. There is no inspection. But when there is no signature, what we call a zero-day attack or unknown attack, you go into a deep packet inspection, DPI process. You learn the application pattern and create a real-time signature in real time. So we're back to the data center. It's really time. Okay, 2 minutes, I'm finishing. Already 30 minutes gone? Wow, that was fun. That was fun. But we started later. Anyway, I'm finishing, 2 minutes. I'm having fun. Okay, so data center in the middle, we want to protect your physical data center, your virtual data center, or in the cloud, if you are in AWS or anyone else, Google Cloud or anyone. And we want to protect with all the, what we call 360 degrees application protection, meaning from DDoS point of view, network-based, okay? So the DDoS is the protocol level. This is based on the components, like we said, the 360, all the protections that we have. DDoS level, web application level, this is the transaction, and bot, really, anti-bot solution on the user level. On top of that, we have the holistic approach with ASPM, Application Security Posture Management, that really give you the visibility and proactive protection for potential attacks. Okay, so not only real live attacks that we are able to mitigate and block, obviously, but also using ASPM solution, again, Application Security Posture Management, to predict future attacks by learning the application. Okay? So the threats are there. We know how to protect them. Just going fast. DDoS, web application, bad bot, known bad actors using our deception network, API protection, huge topic, hot topic today, where the attacks are using, the API connection to really attack the organizations, and all of the solutions to really deal with each of the threats that you are facing. Again, solution can be cloud-based or on-premise. On top of that, again, the ASPM to give you visibility and proactive approach against future attacks. Okay, prediction of the attack. All of that, I will go fast with AI technology, behavioral technology, to cover also the unknown zero-day attacks. And Radware is winning industry recognition for 2023, and we'll move fast. This is the latest from a week ago. Radware is leading the application, the API protection, really from a week ago. So we are leader over there. We are the only one that provide high rank or high scoring on that category in GigaOn. Okay? And I will just move fast. I want to invite all of you as our guests to use free of charge evaluation of our cloud service, 30 days. I can be generous even more, to use one of our cloud protection as free service. Okay, this is valid only for today, for only PROtACTION guests. So if no questions, thank you very much. That was fun.